adding the oil to the tank. I've been with my wife for 12 years now, 9 of those years married. We have 2 kids under 8. Recently I found messages on my wife's phone to a male work colleague of hers. These messages contained rants about her workday. Fair enough, jokes about how one creepy guy fancies her. I took that as office joking. But there were also messages of a very physical nature from my wife and personal messages about our marriage and my health. These weren't the occasional messages, they were almost every day. The messages of a dirty nature mostly started from my wife. She talks about her preferences, when we'd last had slept together, her past experiences, how good she was with her tongue, about fantasies I may have. I'm sure you get the picture. There were messages from him asking questions about them, and he'd push for info on whether she'd had a threesome and whether she's been with another woman. The messages about me were mostly putting me down. Things like, oh, he's in a mood again, when actually I wasn't. She told him I was on antidepressants and called me broken. Yeah, seriously. Now I feel it difficult to talk and hands up. I never told her I went on antidepressants, but I'm a private person and the normal solution of just dealing with my issues myself wasn't working. So I reached out to my doctor and they put me on the meds. I was never suicidal or anything, just life got a bit crap. So, I know it wasn't nice to not tell my wife, but I told nobody. My wife had been on her phone a lot, and to make a point of this I casually started asking her who's that. And she'd tell me a name, but she never mentioned this guy. When I mentioned that I'd seen some of the messages from this guy, she just brushed it off as he's a friend and it was just banter. I asked her what she thought constituted banter and she handed over her phone for me to read all the messages. As I read more and more out to her, I could see the look on her face of oh crap, and she went, that's enough, and took the phone back. I said I was uncomfortable with the messages she's sending and asked her to stop. She said she would. Roll on a month, guess what? She was still sending those kind of messages, so she lied to me. She didn't know I knew at this point I'd seen the recent messages. We had a chat. I asked her why she's spending so much time messaging and did she still message that guy. She said she did. I asked her what the content of the text were and she said just rants about work. I asked her to show me and she flat out refused. I asked her how often they messaged. She said occasionally. I said every day isn't occasionally. So, I felt she lied and was hiding something. When I walked behind her at one time, she minimized the screen on her phone and she saw I couldn't help myself. So I maximized the screen and she was messaging him. Again, if there is nothing to hide, why the lies and secrecy? At this point, I asked her to stop messaging him completely. I was uncomfortable with it. She was not happy but told me she had. 2 days later, she admitted she'd been messaging him again. I said, again, she needs to stop, and the next day she said she's told him that I'd said she couldn't message him anymore and they'd only speak at work about work. She told me she'd deleted him. What would you know, she hadn't deleted him, only the previous messages. She'd kept his number. Now, I feel lied to, I feel betrayed, I feel hurt, and I feel I can't trust her. I've never had an issue with her going out, speaking to work colleagues until this. I guess, if you're still watching, am I justified in feeling lied to? Justified in feeling hurt? Justified in being mistrustful and asking her to stop messaging him? She says they're just friends and I'm being controlling, but I don't understand why she would lie about it all, be secretive and deceptive. I feel she's had an emotional affair and crossed the line. She says she understands that she shared too much information, but on the other hand, she doesn't see what she's done wrong. She feels it's okay to share information. It's okay to slag me off to her friends and discuss our marriage problems and my health. I say it's not. I just don't talk about this sort of stuff, just tend to deal with it on my own. I know I should have told her. I don't believe anything physical has happened, but I'm 100% in agreement that she's had an emotional affair. I've told her this, but she denies it. It's just banter to her. I do snoop, and I've seen messages to her other close friends where she's confused about my reactions to what's happened. She said to them that absolutely nothing has happened and she loves me. We are going to counseling, but I just don't understand how she thinks what she's done isn't wrong. Can someone really be that naive? So, she openly offered her phone and said I can read anything on it. I have been anyway. Regarding if it were the other way around, she says she'd be okay with it because she trusts me and because it was her I am coming home to. It was her idea to start counseling, but the fact she just doesn't want to stop messaging this guy is a total lack of respect. She says she's committed to our marriage and loves me but wants to be able to talk to friends as well. I will tell her tonight that this will be the last time I'm going to ask. She must stop messaging him and she must delete his number. We'll see what her reaction is. When all this started, I barely spoke to her for 2 weeks and told her exactly what I thought, and when she brought up counseling I said it'd be best to go straight to the divorce lawyers. She was upset by that, but let's see if she agrees to cut all comms with him. So, I told her I'm done with the lies and the BS over this. Her words mean nothing, so I want action. I said we cannot move forward until she proves she's committed, so she needs to delete his messages and delete his number. She said that's harsh, and again I'm being controlling. Problem is, she is stubborn and has always got her way, so me telling her to do something isn't going down well. I know this other guy's name. I know he has a partner and a young kid. Thing is that my wife can't tell me much about him because he hasn't shared that much with him. Either he was savvy enough not to or she's lying again. I've said to her on a few occasions, let me know his partner's name. I'd love to know what she thinks of this. Just silence. Well, the ball's in her court now. I'm not backing down. She deletes him or we don't move forward. Has anyone been to marriage counseling? What do they talk about, and if the counselor sees that it's clearly one person at fault or obstructing the path to moving forward, do they say something to that person? I guess I'm hoping they'll see what she's done is completely wrong and they'll tell her that. I guess it means divorce. I am disturbed by it and she knows this. Am I pinning my hopes too much on counseling and them pointing out she's wrong and needs to sort her crap out? Told her, deleting him is non-negotiable, is the blocker that's stopping us moving forward and repairing this. If she couldn't do that, then we skip the counselor and go straight to the lawyers. She has now agreed to delete him. I will make it clear that if I find she has saved his number elsewhere or relies on him to text first so she can reply and delete messages, then there is no going back. She's out and we are done. I've also made it clear that by continually refusing to delete him, by seemingly putting her friendship first, she's put the rebuilding of the marriage back quite a few steps. Let's see what happens. My comment: she has already made multiple promises to you concerning this other man, OM, that she had no intent of keeping. She does not really even apologize to you for lying and having broken her past promises to you. Sorry, but odds are that she is going to break her promises to you again. At best she will cool it down for a bit, but I doubt that it will last. She is in at least an emotional affair with this OM, and she will not be able to resist, especially when she does not believe that you will actually divorce her in the end. She believes that even if you get an attorney and file, that she can always call it off at the last minute after she has had a chance to see where her relationship with the OM is heading. OP responds with an update. So, I'm divorcing my wife and her true colors are showing. Guess I'm just after advice how to deal with all this crap from people that may have been in the same situation. We're still living together in the same house with our kids and she's turned into a nasty, spiteful bully. She wants to rush the divorce through and tries to pressure me into agreeing to things, while I'm taking longer to make decisions so I'm sure about what I'm agreeing to. I sought legal advice, she didn't, and decided to insult me for doing so. She thought it was sad. While I'm laughing at some of the things she's doing, for example, she's recently hidden some of my food from the cupboards or she'll hide the TV remote. Not sure what the point is, I'll just eat other food or watch TV on my tablet. She has done other things like take money from the joint account, only to put it back a week later. She's being a bully, and yes, people can respond with grow a pair or man up, but I'm doing all I can to remain calm, follow the divorce process, and protect the kids as much as I can. The worry is, how low will she go? She's the higher earner, so I think it's dawning on her that I'm probably going to come away with more than her. Has anyone else had a person turn nasty, become a deluded bully, and if so, how did you cope? I didn't want the divorce, I wanted to fight for the marriage, but really glad we didn't now. I think part of the problem is she thought we'd divorce. She'd come out of it with more than half the finances, and it's slowly dawning on her that what she thought she'd get isn't going to happen. I honestly just want this over and to come out of it with enough to live well afterwards and be able to provide for my kids when they're with me. I don't want to screw her over. She does me. I want us to come out on an equal footing, so I need more of the equity because she earns more. She doesn't care about that. I have a solicitor but already spent more on them than I'd have hoped, simply because of the crap she's been pulling. I've needed to speak to them more. For those unaware, I'm in the UK, so I'm guessing the divorce process is different to those in the USA. Spiteful women are the same, I guess, no matter where they live. I can't move out because I can't afford to, and neither would I want to because she'll say I can survive without a bigger slice of the finances. Does anyone have any tips on how to negotiate with people like my soon-to-be ex over finances, or do we think this is just going to be a slog between solicitors? She was 100% having an E at the time I knew it, just didn't want to believe it, I guess. Trust your gut. Whether I've broke it up, who knows, don't care either. To answer the question of am I surprised she's being nasty, I knew things would get difficult because she's driven by money and used to getting her own way, but never thought she'd get this nasty and pathetic. Maybe that was me being naive again, so now she isn't getting it her way and it's dawning on her that I'm, hopefully, going to come out of this with a bigger share. I'm just concerned about how low she'll sink. I have started to record all conversations now, can't trust her one bit. It's weird how in less than a year we've gone from having a dip in our marriage to I absolutely despise her. Does anyone think her bullying could be used against her if it continues? Or the way she uses the kids to try and hurt me? For example, she'll keep them out late and only come back at bedtime, meaning I'm currently seeing them for 30 minutes or so. It's been a really tough week and I have got quite down, but I try to picture the end result of a new life, new house, and time with my kids without her dictating what I need to do. The problem is, reality hits and that end result seems light years away, and I've got to put up with all this crap for a while yet. I expected she'd be like this, but that doesn't make it easy. It doesn't help that she's off at the minute with them because it's the school holidays. She's a teacher, so she really does have full control. If I were to raise it with her, she'd just deny it and then do it even more. I'd actually move out, but why should I? This is my house too. Wouldn't want to give her the satisfaction of knowing she'd driven me out. Plus, I couldn't afford to anyway or give her an excuse to say I can survive on my own without needing more of the finances. She had it in her head that she would come away with the house, be better off financially, because apparently I never contributed, and be able to do whatever she wanted. Slowly, it's become apparent she's getting less and less. The bit in bold, God, I hope that's what happens. I know that sounds spiteful, but she's been badly influenced in all of this by bitter friends and the crap she's putting me through. She deserves to come out second best. She can be relentless, messaging me at work, bombarding me with figures and trying to rush me to make decisions still. I hadn't said that we have started mediation. First session we agreed 50/50 with the boys, which was expected. The hard part was always going to be the finances. We were meant to have another mediation session recently, but we still don't have her pension details, which my solicitor says is required to come to a financial agreement. Once full financial disclosure has happened, we're in a position to agree the equity split of the house, agree the sale of the house, and decide if our pension pots are required to top one of us up. She's in total disagreement and says we don't need her pension details to start the negotiations. I haven't a clue what I'm doing, so trusting my solicitor and hoping for the best. As far as I'm concerned, I'm the lowest earner, so we'll need more of the equity to raise a half-decent mortgage, but she doesn't care about that either. From what I've researched and been told by my solicitor, we have to somehow maintain the status quo. Of course, we'll both be worse off after the split, but we need to have a similar living standard afterwards. So, again, I require more of the equity in order to get a comparable mortgage to what she can raise. I know I'll never be equal with her, but if we go 50/50 split of equity, she'll be able to raise nearly $100K more than me for a mortgage, and what I could raise wouldn't get me anything. She also has a car she needs to pay off to the tune of 14 Kelvin and wants me to pay half, but again, that eats into my mortgage capabilities, and as far as I'm concerned, it's her car. I am documenting everything. I am taking pictures of everything in every room in case she starts removing more stuff. I'm trying to completely avoid her, no verbal communication but what there has been. I've tried the gray rocking technique, early days. It's extremely hard not to put forward your defense or side of the story. It's one of my kids' birthdays coming up, and we'd agreed I could take him to see my family on the day. Because I haven't given in to her house demands, she's now refusing to let me take him. Just nasty, using the kids to get at me, not a care what that will do to him. It's so hard not to stoop to her level. I've slipped a couple of times and beat myself up for it. I don't like confrontation, so when she's really gone for it and pressed my buttons, I panicked and just blurted out any old insult. That was a while ago now though. Any conversation we've had recently, it's her that's lost it, and I've managed to keep calm and stick to facts. I guess that's a positive of all of this. I'm learning and growing, and if I can survive all this crap she's doing, I'll be a better person. Just an update. So, I came home from work last Tuesday, and to no surprise, she had completely emptied my study. All my computer equipment completely unplugged and moved out of the room. We're not just talking a PC, we're talking a lot of equipment all properly cabled. She moved all my tools out in the filing cabinet. The effort it would have taken her to do all of that and to drag down drawers from our master bedroom and plants and put them in the study, it was just crazy. She had been sleeping in with our eldest, but we have a spare bedroom that's empty, just didn't have a door on or any curtains. It would have taken me 30 minutes to put a door on our spare bedroom and hang some curtains. She'd never mentioned she was fed up sleeping in with our eldest. She refused to let me take the boys to my family on my youngest birthday, so they all came up to us. The front on her was extraordinary, acting like nothing was wrong, acting like she was this amazing daughter, sister-in-law. Credit to my family, they acted with integrity to ensure my kid's birthday was a happy one. We still don't have her pension details. We do have a buyer for the house that's been happy to wait on us, but I can't agree the sale still until we have this financial agreement in place. It's doing my head in. If we lose this buyer, we're back to square one. Not sure I mentioned it, but the reason we have a buyer is because I agreed, against the advice of my solicitor, to let her try a deal with a new house build company. It meant the builder sold our current house, meaning the builder gets a guaranteed buyer for their new build and she'd get a new house. We'd still need to agree equity split. Of course, even though I was doing her a favor, she continued to act like a DCK, so I had no option but to hold off agreeing the sale of the house. She's telling the kids that Daddy is stopping the sale of the house because I want all the money. Whenever they tell me what she said, I just reassure them they're loved. It's not their fault. It will all be sorted soon, and Mummy is just trying to make Daddy seem bad. I'm doing my best to 180, but finding it hard a lot of the time. I can't help but laugh at some of her pettiness, like emptying my study, or yesterday I came home to find she'd parked across the driveway, stopping me from getting on. My natural reaction is just to laugh at her, but I know I need to stop that. It's just hard. I don't speak to her verbally anymore unless it's absolutely necessary. Like when she's starting to box things up in front of me, I feel I have to remind her we haven't agreed on how to distribute our possessions yet, so she better not take anything. If she texts me, demanding action, giving me deadlines for when I should do something by, I just ignore her. I'm not sure if that's what I should be doing or not. I keep going back to doubting myself. Am I doing the right thing waiting for her pension details? Am I unnecessary delaying things costing me more money? Should I hold out for a few % more of the equity? Is it worth the delay? Final update. Where to start? Basically, I gave up wanting to talk about what was happening. Just felt I was repeating the same thing over and over, which got me down. Nothing was progressing. It seemed never-ending, and all the while, she was just being her normal spiteful self. At the same time, I stopped reading up on the situation, just felt that nothing would relate to what she was doing and what I was going through. I have regrets over that now, but I guess we all cope in different ways. I've started talking again to people, for those going through any difficult times. Talk to family, friends, message boards like this, professionals. It'll be hard, but it certainly helps. She's still been using the children against me or to get at me, and the horrible thing is, it won't stop after this is all sorted. She'll continue, and as much as it hurts me and is physically and emotionally draining, it's awful for the boys to be a part of. I absolutely hate her for what she's done, but would never be able to get full custody of the boys, but neither would I want to. For them, they need to also see their mother and be around her, but I'm keeping a record of all her actions just in case. I feel trapped. Well, I don't want to help her out. I don't want the boys to suffer. She's still telling the children it's me that's caused all the delays, to the point my eldest was telling me just to sign the paperwork. Why am I delaying everything? I just tried my best to explain that I will be signing the documents to allow the house to be sold, but I can't until me and Mummy have an agreement in place. I shouldn't have to be explaining this to an 8-year-old. We do now have an agreement. It hasn't been signed off by a judge yet, so I'm preparing myself for her to try and scupper it, especially now we've sold our house and moved out. That was another thing she was telling the children. Daddy didn't succeed in stopping Mummy getting her new house. We've settled on 54-46 equity split in my favor, 50-50 child benefit. So one parent will claim for one child each, and I'll give her 5 Kelvin towards her car. It's not quite what I was hoping for, but I wasn't going to delay this any longer just to argue over an extra grand. I should be able to start a new life with it, and it's certainly better than the deal she wanted. She's giving it the whole. I've taken everything from her. She's given me everything she could. Blah, blah, blah. No one believes a word she says, but she says it like I care. If she wants to play the victim, let her. I know she's not going to hand her car back in. She can easily afford the monthly repayments, so she'll just keep the $5,000 for other things. I know that, and I am not fussed about it at all. This, for me, was just about getting a fair split so we could both live afterwards. For her, it was about screwing me over, and I've not let her do that. Everything she said would happen. Everything she thought she would get has been wrong. She didn't get the deal she wanted. She didn't get to stay in the family home. She hasn't taken me for everything. She hasn't crushed and destroyed me. Yes, she said she was going to do that. She's alienated everyone that cared for her in the UK and would have dropped everything to help her out if required. What she's trying to do now is alter the schedule we'd agreed for the children. She wants to change it to 1 week each. I think the boys are too young, 7 and 8, to be away from each parent for a whole week. I certainly wouldn't want to go a whole week without seeing them. I asked her the reasonings for wanting to change, and she said it wasn't fair on the boys to play ping pong between us. She then said she wants to be able to map out when she can go for runs or go away. I don't see what's so difficult. If she wants to go away, let me know the dates and I'll pencil in having the boys. We're not on verbal speaking terms. I can't even look at her when we swap the boys over. All communication is via email or TXT. I honestly think I'm going to have to go to court to get an agreement in place. I've read other threads where parents have sat with each other for Christmas dinner for the sake of the children. We absolutely couldn't do that, and that's sad. What are other people's opinions on young children spending a week at a time with one parent? How did it affect your children? When they're older, maybe. I just think they're too young at the minute. My comment: she wants time to go have fun, to go on dates, meet and maybe marry a new man. Yes, she wants to go away. Her schedule is the easier one, believe me. And all fair for her to do this, and all fair for you to do the same thing. This schedule will be easier on her, on the boys, and on you. It will give you time for your hobbies, time out with your friends, for dating and snuggling, uninterrupted, with a new dearie. Yes, the boys will adapt, so ordered, they must, having no choice in the matter. It will not be as easily done as her new schedule. Children enjoy stability, so do adults. Do the 1 week with you, 1 week with her. Story 2. Losing it. My husband and I have been married for a whole year and together for 3 in total. He has 3 daughters with 2 different women. I am raising the youngest daughter as her BM abandoned her at the age of 1. My brother passed away in July 2017. I found out in October 2018 I was pregnant with my little miracle, one whom I was told I'd never be able to have. Got married in that same month. Fast forward to this year, things has not been so great. I feel like I am losing myself, losing my sanity, etc. I want to spend holidays at home with our children and each other. He only gets his oldest 2 for a certain amount of time where the holidays are shared. My family get-togethers have not been the same since my brother passed away. Today I was cussed at and called so many ugly names because I told my husband I needed to be home for the holidays and start making our own traditions for our children to make happy memories. I have been put down and belittled for it. Guys, am I wrong to want to be home this year? I feel like with him having 4 children he would only want to do the same. But instead, he wants to spend it with people that I personally don't even like to be in a room with longer than necessary. I bite my tongue and set aside my pride when I have to, but I just feel like Christmas and Thanksgiving etc. should be happy times for the children. Should I stand my ground and make traditions for my son and adopted daughter, or should I give in to husband's requests? After he got physical with me the last time, I always keep my phone at my side. I have to hide it sometimes when he comes home. He's very controlling and domineering, likes to possess my things and know every move I make. Last week when I started getting really exhausted physically and emotionally, I had enough. I put a passcode on my phone. Now there is a password on my laptop. That all started because he would always take possession of my phone when I got home, read all my messages, and if someone sent a friend request on social media, he wanted to know who it was and how I knew them, so I took control over my social media and changed my password there also. He blames it on his past about how mistreated and cheated on he was. I've never done them things to him, as I was in a previous marriage and that happened to me. I know the pain that causes. Long story short, I know and I can tell as I type this in my emotions this past week that I'm stretched thin and I've reached the point of no return. The ball is in his court now. I hear every day how useless I am, how he can find someone better, along with the names, and how mental and messed up I am. I believed it and still believe some of it for the longest time now. Today he called me after he got off work and said that the BM of his 2 oldest has changed his visitation time and doesn't want him to pick them up until Sunday evening. He goes back to work Monday. He said we can keep them until Christmas Day and then go back and get them the next day. I said, so you're going to take them home every morning on your way to work? He started yelling and cussing at me, calling me names again, saying that it was my job as a wife to take care of his kids when he is not at home. I was so calm and kind. I said, but I do take care of the house and your kids, 2 of them. I have cried all evening. When he fell asleep tonight, I was able to take my keys and go for a quick trip to the store. Walking into that store, I tried to process my thoughts and what I needed for the household. Checking out, I realized I had looked down at my feet most of the trip there, and I was so sad. Some people looked at me and they seemed to give such empathy for me. When I arrived home tonight, he asked where the hell I had been and said he had to work in the morning and I needed to be home with the kids. My family is to the point now where they love me and they are here for me, but I was told today that it's very hard for them to be in a room with him and they can't promise that eventually they won't be able to refrain from snapping on him. So, I guess he does put down to me in public also. I just never noticed. When I told my husband the plan, he didn't like it. He said, well, F it, I am going to sign my rights over to the other 2 and just forget about them. That's what you want. He said that he will just stay home for Christmas and that what I am doing is BS. He is afraid of my dad and brother, so I'm not too worried about that. He's all bark and no bite when it comes to them. Update: I am in a very bad situation. I have been living with my dad and stepmom since the 23rd of December. The husband will stop in and see me and the kids after work, and we go out once or twice a week for dinner or errands and have been attending therapy. I thought things were going good until my phone went off while we were out. It was an old friend that I had been acquainted with in my past. I had been friends with him via gaming online since back in 2009. Nothing romantic has ever occurred between me and the friend. I was forced to stop talking to or communicating with anyone of the opposite gender when husband and I become engaged. He said that women can't have male friends and men can't have women friends. I never got to say goodbye to this friend. My husband took it upon himself to access my Skype account and tell my friend what for, cussing him, threatening him, etc. Anyways, this friend had not reached out to me until this particular day together with my husband. He told me that our other friend was in trouble. He had not heard from him in days, which was really unusual, and wanted to know had I reached out to him in these last 2 years. I told him no, and he then asked if I could make contact with a family member to find out what was going on with him and if he was safe. I of course obliged and reached out to the friend's mother. She reported that her son was okay, just having a hard time with the loss of his father. I relayed the message. For this, my husband took possession of my phone and I haven't had it in 3 days. He called me this afternoon to tell me he was stopping by after work tonight and we would go out and talk about this. I was called a fat B and a W for this short and brief conversation with the former friend. He said he had my phone and has gone through it and knows I am a W. I asked him how and he said he doesn't know yet, but he will find out. I told him to not bother coming to get me and he was not welcome here. Married viewers, is it really that bad for a husband and wife to have ties to members of the opposite gender like that? I mean, I personally grew up with all boys. I never bonded with another female on a friendship level until my brother's wife. I've always been all about my games, books, and consumed myself in my work. Is it true that all husbands, men have a right to be this upset over something like this? Final update: we slept together again. We are still going to marriage counseling together but are now seeing individual therapists as well. My SM's children were coming in and visiting a lot and there was high traffic in and out of their place. I wanted to be back home with my family. I have my sister and dad on standby if needed, but things have been doing good so far. DH goes out of town for work Monday and will be gone for 2 months. He seems committed to making things work. For as long as he continues to make this effort and rehabilitate himself, I am thankful for that, and it shows the will, want to change. Let's just hope it can change. Like comment, I think you really need to try and let the insecurity go as much as possible. And, unless he is not taking care of you, which he should be, him getting off twice should be a good thing overall. Talk to him about it. Maybe it is a new trick he wanted to show you.